Welcome to Blog Talk Radio in high fidelity.
Welcome to the Along Came a Writer Network. Opinions expressed in our shows do not necessarily reflect those of the network. Welcome to Chat Noir, Mystery and Suspense. I'm your host, Linda Kozar, and the theme of tonight's show is Casket, which if you speak a little French, the phrase is Casket, which means what is that? The that in tonight's show, casket. And we're going to be talking all about custom caskets. Trey Ganum has been designing unique custom caskets for almost a quarter of a century in Edna, Texas. He's designed thousands of caskets since he began for adults and children, sports stars, celebrities, and recently for victims of the tragedy in Sutherland Springs, Texas. Trey Ganum he adds life to the funeral world with this dream, and he began while working as a hunting guide and providing taxidermy services out of the garage of his home in Victoria, Texas. Trey thought about his own funeral, not who would be there or what they would say, but about what his casket would look like. We're going to ask him all about that. He thought about that plain metal box and knew that he wanted more. He imagined the casket customized to represent his life and thought about something outside the box. He asked himself, what could I do to really make my casket represent my life? Welcome to the show, Trey.
Well, thank you for having me.
Well, I'm excited. I'm excited to talk about what you do because it's so unique. It's so interesting.
It is. It is very unique, very interesting in what we do and why we do it. And you know, a lot of people ask me, it's like, how did you come up with this, or why would I want that? And so there's lots of questions. Lots of people interested but not knowing, and I believe that's why we're talking tonight.
Well, right. Now, my first question for you, I have a couple just out of your introduction, but
Okay.
Do you recall you had some sort of epiphany in your when you're doing taxidermy in your garage, thinking, I don't imagine many people sit there and think about, what will my coffin look like? What will my casket look like? So how did you get that thought? Was there some kind of situation that brought you to that?
There was a big situation, and I was pretty young, and one of my friends passed away, and I went to the service, and I'm sitting there looking at that going, why is he in that? This was a young guy that we hunted together, and, we sat around the campfire and, just enjoying the time and outside and, everything. And I'm looking at that and going, is there a law against doing something that would represent his life, like deerskin interior? Because I was into taxidermy and stuff like that. I'm thinking, man, I could make that really awesome, and would bring back the stories of like, okay, do you remember when he shot that deer and we had to go get it before the neighbors came? Kind of to bring back everything he loved to do and the funny stories, because that's what he was about. And I'm thinking, I do not want a box like that. I want a casket that would represent me and, what people remembered me by. So those were the first things, and that's been 24, almost 25 years ago. Where this started. That's a
creative mind. That's a creative mind at work, thinking, how could I embellish this task? It's not just embellishing it, though. It's really, redesigning it, right? The whole thing.
It is. It's reinventing the wheel and changing something that hasn't been changed in over 100 years. The casket, and I call them caskets, and I'll tell you why. A lot of people
Yes,
say
I want to
coffins.
know.
Coffins are for,
See, I know the
go
difference
ahead.
because I'm a mystery writer, but not everybody does. So
Yeah.
yes, do explain the difference between coffins and caskets.
So coffins are like vampires and, old stuff. And a casket, if you look up the definition of casket, it is a box for fine jewels. And that's exactly what it is. So it's almost one of those things when people say coffin, I'm like, ugh, it's casket. And that's one of those things. It's just kind of a quirky thing that I have. But, and the funny thing is that, I met my wife over 20 years ago and told her that, hey, I want to do caskets. And she's like, okay, weirdo, that's strange. Why would you want to do that? And, I get that response a lot until I actually tell them the stories. And, I never had a clue on when I had this so many years ago, how much it would actually help a family. I just wanted something that would, spark the stories and the interest of things instead of just, it's a decoration. That's not what it is. There's so much more. And my slogan is letting souls shine. And that's exactly what we do here at Trey Ganum Designs.
That's so neat. Well, like I said, I knew the difference between coffins and caskets, but coffins more shape your body too, right? Because caskets are more like a box, but
right.
Well, coffins shape the person's body. They're wider at the top and they narrow down.
They're tapered. They're tapered and all of that.
Yeah, they're tapered down. Exactly. Yeah, and well, in fact, one of my mysteries is called a tisket, a casket. So, I got it right. Okay, so we have a caller, Danelle Woody, and Danelle, do you have a question for Trey?
Can you hear me?
Yes,
I can hear you, girl.
Okay, Trey. Okay, so what's the hardest casket you ever did?
The
one
hardest?
that you barely finished, like the 11th hour.
There's been a couple like that, and I'll give you a couple of different scenarios on, when people say what's the hardest casket you did, or what's the one that touched me the most. So there's a couple of different ones. The hardest one we did. Yeah, so the hardest one we did was, I got a phone call Tuesday afternoon, like 2 p.m., and it was a funeral director out of Chicago.
Oh, wow.
I have a family here that wants a clear casket. And I'm like,
clear?
Okay. Clear.
Wow.
And we need it by Friday morning. Okay.
Like
the
Snow
viewing,
White?
the
Snow
viewing,
White?
Like Snow White, yes. And I'm like, well, I don't do those, but I can do anything. I said, let me make a couple of phone calls. And she goes, I don't care what it costs. I just need this casket, and I need it here Friday. Well, it's just Tuesday evening, so that means, I've got to figure out how to build this thing. I have to figure out what kind of material I'm going to use. So I got on the phone with a couple of my suppliers and things, and ended up coming up with the Lexan that was half-inch thick. It's actually bulletproof. And I told them I needed, and I had my measurements. I said, I need these cut, this piece, this piece, this piece. Well, they're 6 hours away from me. This is Tuesday night. I have to have this on an airplane Thursday to get there Friday. So I get off the phone. They said they will have it ready by noon. And I put a driver in a truck. I sent him 6 hours away to pick up the cut pieces. Well, while he's picking up these cut pieces, we are welding and fabricating the frame to put these in. And it's kind of a crazy thing because,
though? If it's going to be clear, what did you make the frame out of?
Well, the ends, what we did was we painted a really pretty pearl white, and it was half inch metal around the edges.
Oh, wow.
So around the edges, because what I'm thinking is when you pick this thing up, I don't want the bottom to fall out, of course.
Right.
I want it to be secure, stable. And so we put this thing, I've got it welded, fabricated. Well, the guy gets back Wednesday evening about 8 p.m. Okay?
Oh.
It has to be at the airport the next day by 1 p.m. or it doesn't make the flight.
Wow.
Okay.
Wow.
So we actually, we worked all through the night, and about 4:30 in the morning, I had to get a couple hours of sleep, and knowing that, I had 3 hours left on the casket, but I was so wore out, so stressed, and, everything has to be perfect because you can't redo this. And so we worked, I took a nap, came back, we got it together. I put the box together. I mean, it was fantastic. We had it in the crate. We put it in the dually. My driver left at 10:45, which is a 2-hour drive to go to the airport from where we are.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
He gets to the airport. He gets to the airport, and he's 5 minutes past deadline. They will not take the casket. Well, he calls me, and he's like, man, traffic, this, that, and the other. And I said, well, start driving. We drove that casket. He drove all night to get this casket to Chicago. So he left at 1, and he was there the next day, and we made the deadline, but we actually had to drive that casket from Austin, Texas, all the way to Chicago.
Oh my God.
Oh, wow. Wow.
So when you ask about deadlines, no pun intended, that was a deadline. But we made it. We made it.
I can't imagine a clear casket. That's crazy.
It's actually on our website. You can look at it. It's really, and everybody says that's the Cinderella casket. The funny thing was that it was ironic because, it was bulletproof. Well, the young man that was shot and by a drive-by, mistaken identity, and he ended up getting shot. So not only was it clear, but now it's bulletproof. So that was something that was pretty unique and ironic at the same time.
Now, this is a good opportunity to tell people if they want to go take a look at that casket and so many others to go to Trey Ganum Designs at gmail.com. And Trey is Trey and then GANEM Designs at gmail.com. So you can go check that out.
I'm going to tell you. Yeah, I'm going to tell you to go to actually our Facebook page because our website's TreyGanumDesigns.com. You were given my email address, but our Facebook, Facebook page is actually our Facebook page is actually the one that you need to go to, and it's Trey Ganum Designs, and there's no spaces in between it. TreyGanumDesigns. And that's it. There's no spaces in between Trey Ganum Designs. There's another one that somebody tried to get us an advertising thing, and it's Trey Ganum Custom Caskets, total different site. This has all of our pictures. It has our stories. It has videos. It is an amazing area that we work with. It's, kind of the website thing now for us is it's harder for us to go edit and do that on the website when it's so easy to click a button on Facebook or Instagram and have our stuff there.
Right.
I agree with you on that. I'm finding that's easier for me too. I agree.
Yes, definitely. So how, I want to go back to the beginning too. I forgot to ask you about taxidermy. When you started in taxidermy, was that kind of a transitional thing? It's kind of dealing with, deceased animals and stuff.
Sure.
But then transitioning from there, like you mentioned, adding deer skin, to the inside of a casket, did that just seem to flow?
Well, let me tell you how all of this started. It started back in junior high when I wanted to meet girls. And I went and I did homemaking class, so I learned how to sew. And so I learned how to sew, and I thought it would be an easy class. I learned how to cook and sew, so I could cook for the girls and sew. And it's funny, when my wife met me, she was like, "Are you sure you want to date me because you sewed your curtains and your house is decorated?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I just have that artistic ability." But yeah, it started in junior high, and then. After that, my dad bought me this really raggedy car, which I really wish I had right now. It was a '69 Mustang, but it was piece. It was all beat up and needed paint and needed this. And so how better to learn paint, fabrication, than to try to fix your own car. And I hung out with some guys at our church that were, you know, old motorheads, and that's all they did was hot rod cars and drag racing and, you know, things like that. So when I started in junior high learning how to sew, then I go and learn how to paint, learn how to do fabrication, learn how to put things together, then got out of that and loved hunting, went into taxidermy. I'm one of those guys that can actually watch you do something, I can do it. And so I just started doing taxidermy, building cars, painting, upholstery. And while I was in high school, I did car stereos and, you know, I had to build boxes for vehicles and wire them. And so I have a very rounded skill culture, I guess you'd say. But, you know, and it just took off from there.
Well, it looks like we have another caller who might have a question. Hi, caller. Did you have a question or a comment for Trey, or did you just want to listen in?
No, I have a
Hello?
question.
Oh,
Can
awesome.
you hear me?
Okay. Yes.
Okay. This is Chrissy, and I was just wanting to know, you were talking about like your most difficult casket that you had to do as far as deadlines, but which one has touched your heart more than any other one?
Well, that would be my buddy Parker. He, whenever I started this business, you know, he was military.
Mm-hmm.
He came to the shop and he would be there 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning with me, because when this started, it was just me. It was my dream. It was my vision to help others and do this. And, you know, he had just came back from the military, and he didn't have a lot of work. And he's like, anything I can do to help you, I believe in this. I want to help. So, you know, whether it was handing me stuff, picking up stuff off the floor, this, that, and the other, you know, he was there for me. He was my go-to guy on deliveries. And it, you know, we did motorcycle rides together, stuff like that. And then he was actually killed by his girlfriend. And that's a phone call I never wanted. So, you know, he designed a casket for us, and it was honor the dead and protect the living. We did an American flag across the top, and it was gray and black. And it was something that he was passionate about. He believed in me. He believed in what we stood for and how we help families. And, you know, that one really, and I'm tearing up right now because, I mean, it's hard to get that phone call and to know now that I'm doing a casket for him. And this is the guy that helped me start this business. And, you know, I did the most amazing American flag distressed casket for him. I did his tattoos, across the front of that. And, you know, I couldn't stop. I'm like, I got this. This is something I have to do because my son helps me and all that. And when I finished that casket, and I worked on it till I was done, and me and my wife went and sat down at the restaurant down the street, and I just wanted a drink to relax. It hit me so hard because there was nothing else that I could do for him. So, you know, I do get involved in the families that I get to know them. I hear about their loved one. I feel like I'm part of the family, but this one was my family. He was my, you know, like I said, I'd call him in the middle of the night. Hey, dude, I need this casket delivered tomorrow, but it's a 12-hour drive. He didn't care. He would jump right in, run right over and take that casket and made sure it got there. Whatever it took, he did it. If he slept in the truck for 2 hours and then finished the drive, he did it. And so that was my hardest casket.
Wow. That's touching
you do
story.
Amazing work.
Well, thank you. You know, it's just been really, you know, this is an amazing blessing to be able to help families, you know, and I know firsthand how it helps, how to do the first kids casket was another one that was really hard for me and my wife, because when I started this, I didn't want to do kids. I wanted to do people who've lived their life. I wanted people, you know, that stood, you know, and had all this stuff. And then I got a phone call from a friend of mine, and he said, my grandson passed away, and I don't care what it costs. He loved Ninja Turtles. Can you do something Ninja Turtle, you know, themed for him? And I'm like, you bet. And I was actually out of the country when he made the phone call. I was actually in Cabo on vacation. But he said he needed it, by Monday, and this was Friday. Well, I was flying in Saturday, so I knew I could have it done. And my wife hadn't been on any of the calls with me or out anywhere. And so I called my guys that, had caskets for kids. I said, I need a casket. He actually met me at the airport. It was Friday evening. And I'm thinking, where am I going to find something Ninja Turtle? And this was almost October. And so I just called the Party Factory out of Houston. And I was like, hey, I said, this is what's going on. This is what I do. And the manager said, we're closed. But he said, if you'll be here within 30 minutes, I'll open up. He says, I have our stuff in the back that we just got in for, basically Halloween stuff. He says, come on in and let's see what we can come up with. He didn't charge me anything. He gave me this stuff. So Saturday, I built this casket. I did a Ninja Turtle theme, did the top like a turtle shell. It was amazing. Did the staff on top of it, painted the colors, and it's on my website. You'll be able to look at it.
Yeah, I saw
but
it.
His name is Carson.
Yeah.
And so,
I was just fixing to ask you, was his name Carson?
Yeah, it was Carson.
Yeah.
So so me and my wife were like on the way to drop this off, and they hadn't seen it, and I'm thinking this was my first kid's casket. So I'm like, did I do too much? Is it going to be too gaudy? Is it not enough? It was like, she's a nervous wreck. I'm kind of, nervous. And I'm like, you know what? I need to stop at the store. And there's some God stuff here that happens at Walmart and see if I can find, maybe something to cover it. So when we pull it out, it's not, they don't see it. We can uncover it, unveil it for them. And I went into Walmart and I say, hey, do y'all have any Ninja Turtle blankets? No, we don't have any, sir. Those have been sold out for a while or whatever. And so I'm walking back and I'm like, man, I wish I had just had something. And I look down on the floor in the Tupperware aisle, which is funny, and there's a blanket rolled up on the ground. And I pick it up and it's Ninja Turtle. And I'm like, of course it is, So I take it up front and I'm like, hey, look, this was on the floor. I was like, and there's no price on it. And the lady said, how about $3? Yeah, I'm like, perfect. It covers the casket. We deliver it to the funeral home. The grandfather's there, and we pull it out. It's covered. Wheel it inside, open it up, and he's just like, it's the most beautiful thing I've ever seen. You have to stay here tonight to meet the mom and dad. And I'm thinking, I don't want to be here for visitation to see that little boy in that casket. And, it was, so we went, we had some lunch at Chili's, and we went back. And when we went back, they had that little boy in his karate outfit. It looked like he was smiling. And when I walked in, I was not like, it was like beautiful. And so we stood outside the door, and all his little buddies came in and were like, ooh, cool, Mom, look at that. Instead of, why is Carson in that? And people were coming out and just thanking me. And I'm like, I didn't know what to do. It humbles me because I think that, what I do, everybody should do. So it's not like something that I'm going out of my way to do. I tell everybody it's not my art, it's my heart.
Those children's caskets that you do are so touching, and you have pictures of the children with their caskets,
Yeah.
It's just heart-wrenching. It really is. But it's such a great thing.
Yeah, and
I have another question. Go on.
Hello.
Yeah, I'm here. You introduced me to Rowan.
Okay.
And that little boy was something special. So
yes,
the outcome wasn't what we wanted, but
right.
Thank you for introducing him to my life.
Rowan was a beautiful.
Really
yes, he was a beautiful old soul. And so let me tell you how I got in touch with Rowan. There was a little girl called Jaylene, and she had a thing called Jaylene's Journey. Okay.
Yep. I know.
Her casket's on there. So when I went and actually sat with Jaylene, I took my lemur. She fed him marshmallows. It was pretty amazing. I donated the casket to Jaylene. I have two lemurs, but yes. Okay. Oh yeah, Pablo. I have Pablo and Phoebe.
Linda of them.
Okay.
So the cool thing was we went to Jaylene's house and she wanted to meet my lemur. Her mom told her, and she knew why I was there. But she also knew that she was going to pass. So the thing is when I went there, Rowan and her were friends, and that's how we got introduced to Rowan. But I donated that casket to that little girl, and when I dropped that casket off after she passed, which was hard because I met her and hung out with them and the family, her mom handed me an envelope, and that envelope had just enough to pay for a casket, okay, just the casket. And she said, Jaylene wants somebody to have something special like hers, and she said, you have to take this. And I'm like, wow, I get back 2 weeks later, a friend of hers that she was in cancer treatment with, his name is Julian. His dad was an officer in San Antonio, passed away. Mm-hmm. And the family called, and Jaylene paid for his casket. That was so awesome. But not only that, Rowan had a gift, and anybody who knew Rowan knew that Rowan was a special person. He saw things. He saw the angels with Jaylene before she passed, and it was amazing. And I kind of have that gift quite often. I'm able to help families through traumatic times and give them peace of knowing who they're with and things like that. And that's I'm sure that's a whole nother show, but it's something that's just it's touched me, and I guess you would say that it's my awakening. And since I've been doing the caskets in the past 4 years, it is just God's opened that door for me where it's like none other. And I can't explain, what we have. Typically I'll know what we're going to be doing before I get the phone call, and it really freaks my wife out. So.
Wow.
Well, I have a question.
Yeah, I remember Rowan. I'm sorry.
Oh,
Linda.
Wait, I have a question. Go on. Finish. Ask your question. No, go ahead, Christy.
Okay, sorry. It's like I'm getting a really bad echo. So I think we're talking at the same time. I apologize. He had a gift. He saw her with short hair, correct?
Yes.
And he had never seen her with hair.
Right.
Oh.
Yeah, Rowan was amazing. Go ahead, girl.
Okay, so the question I was going to ask is, and sometimes if there's an echo, it might be because
it might be because I'm on speaker.
You have your phone on speaker. Yeah, speakerphone usually does that. But now, do people request to be buried with certain items, like favorite items?
Well, yes. I've had some special things happen, and not even the funeral homes know what we do, on my end, because the family said, hey, look, my mom wants to be buried with this jewelry, but I don't want anybody to know. And so what we do is we make a secret compartment that's underneath there. It is in there. Nobody knows. Mom goes with her stuff. But there's a lot of unique things that happen. There's a lot of things that we do in the funeral industry as far as cremation and things like that people have no clue that's even available.
Well, yeah, because first I want to get into talking about, how you decided to custom design caskets, kind of like detailing cars, like, doing cars, but you do special things for people who are cremated. You do sort of urns, but I don't want to call them urns. What do you call them? Because they are detailed.
They are. We call them urns. But there's so many different things that you can do with, cremation remains. There's a license plate frame that people that ride Harleys, if they're going to go on a ride, you can open this little piece and it just trickles out along the whole ride. Or, if you were a hunter, we actually can put your cremation urns inside the bullets, and you can take your buddy on the last hunt with you, or your dad, or your son can take, dad. Yes.
No, wait a minute. Wait,
Yep,
did you say that you can actually trickle out the ashes as you're riding your Harley? You know,
yes.
Really?
Yep.
Oh
Yeah,
my goodness! I don't want to laugh, but it just seems it's wild. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, they get to go on the last ride with you. And you know, something else that's really cool that we offer down here, which has been, you know, very touching to me, and probably one of my most emotional rides that I've been, is we have 2 dually hearse that we actually take people in. It's a 2015 dually, solid white. It's lowered. And what's cool is, you know, if your best friends or your pallbearers, or whoever your pallbearers are, they get to go with you on your last ride, you know, in the vehicle with you.
Wow.
And so
that's cool.
I was taking a young boy. Yeah, it's amazing. I was taking a young boy that passed away not far from here. His name was Hunter. He lived in Matagorda area. And they said, hey, we want to know when you're coming through town, and we are going to let the whole school out and stand on the side of the road if you'll drive in front of the school. Well, I'm thinking, yeah, that'd be cool, you know? So I turned the corner, and I'm listening to KSBJ, and I tell you what, when I turned that corner, If I Can Only Imagine came on, and when I drove in front of that school, girl, the whole school was out. I had my flashing lights going, Hunter in the back of the truck. I was sobbing like a baby, and I didn't even know where I was going after I left the school. I had to like pull over on the side of the road and like get my composure, because I'm like, okay, I don't even know where the church is at, where I'm going. But it was the most amazing thing to drive down there to see all of the classmates, all of the people in that school out that couldn't leave school to go to the service. But they had, I mean, it was just,
that's amazing.
So touching to me, and awesome at the same time. I was just, I was beside myself in a good way.
Wow, that's just amazing. Well, you know, I want to go back to that question about how you decided to custom paint caskets, kind of like cars, you know, detail them like cars. Because when I think of caskets, I always sort of imagine, you know, the wooden, you know, caskets. But most of yours, are they metal? Or some wood as well?
No, we do some wood, but most of our stuff is metal. And the reason being is because, you know, if you've been to my site and you've seen the 57 Chevy that looks just like a 57 Chevy Bel Air with the headlights and taillights that work, you know, that's metal fabrication, because that's for me, you know, as a metal fabricator, I've built custom cars for years. Over 20 years, I've built custom cars, chopping the top, putting cool paint jobs, you know, wiring them, putting new headlights, tail lights, and stuff like that. And, you know, all these, like I said, were stepping stones for me to get to where I'm at today. And we just did a casket. I mean, we've done quite a few, but the one we did last was for a rapper named 50 Pack. And he had his music and CDs and all that. And so we put a stereo in his casket. And HBO did a documentary, Viceland. So at his service, when you came to pay your respects, his casket was playing his music. We had like a PV amp system set up in there with the speakers. And, you know, the coolest part about that was at the gravesite, his music was playing as he was getting lowered, and it was on until you couldn't hear it anymore. It was just an amazing thing. But
that's really cool. Wow.
Right.
Now, so you, I was reading about the paint you use. You know, you do the metal, and then they really have a finish like an automobile. I mean, really just a spot on finish. And detail work. You know, like I noticed some of the caskets have like flames or what, you know, which if they were into motor, you know, cycles, then, you know, I get that. Of course, I'm not sure I would want flames. I want people to get the wrong idea where I'm going.
Yeah. Well, PPG Paint, you know, I painted custom cars and stuff, and I'm actually on the cover of their Vibrance catalog, and they called me the Art of Originality. We painted this car, metal flake, They had it at SEMA, which is in Las Vegas, 12 foot tall on the billboard. And they gave me a mixing paint booth where I can mix any color there is. So if you call me and say, hey, look, I want a fuchsia pink or, a lime green, if you had a specific car that your dad drove or son drove, anything, I can punch that code in and I can mix that exact color and paint that casket any color you want. And not only that, I can have it to you by the next day, anywhere in the United States.
Now, I have a question. Have you ever been to the Funeral Museum in Houston? And I'll tell you why.
It's funny that you asked that because his son talked to me Saturday. We were doing the Autorama show in Houston, and he's like, my dad wants to get with you because we need to get a casket of yours in this museum because of what it is. I am in the Museum of Death in New Orleans and actually in Hollywood on Hollywood Boulevard. So I have two caskets actually in museums now. And that was pretty much an honor to me to be able to have that. And then to get asked to go into the museum there in Houston was fantastic also.
Well, I asked that because there's a collection of caskets they have there from the country of Ghana. And they're very much into getting buried with a casket that represents, kind of the same thing, represents what they did in life. Except for there would be a giant crab, like an actual giant crab, and the body fits in there, or a fish, or a delivery truck, and I just thought it was fascinating, sort of a take on what you do.
It is, and the difference in between over there and over here is 90% of the people have to be put in a vault. Or a concrete liner. So I have dimensions I have to actually stay in to meet the requirements to go in a cemetery. So I know that I have to be 30 inches wide, 27 inches tall, whatever measurements it is, I have to stay in that realm. So if they don't have to go into a liner or a vault, then we have full reign to do whatever we want.
Well, have people ever requested being buried with their pets or having a casket design for their pets?
100%, all the time.
Really?
Yes.
Well, I mean,
we do pet caskets. We do pet caskets, and they want to be buried with their pet. Typically, we'll do a cremation urn, and then their pet can go with them. When they pass, and we can actually do a mount where it stays in there. There's so many different elements that what we have that we can do that you can't go get at the funeral home, because the funeral home says, okay, this is the casket we have, and that's it. With me, it's like, okay, what do you want? Yeah, we can do that. What do you want in it? Of course. I have one that's rhinestones across the whole thing. That's our Diamonds Are Forever casket. And it's a beautiful casket. And that casket's actually made after Teresa Caputo. If y'all know who she is, the Long Island medium, I met with her and we visited for over an hour and a half. Because, she knows I have the gift. I know, of course she does, but she's like, you, sir, have the gift like me. And she read me and my wife, and she's like, okay, I need to talk to y'all more. We're going to talk after the show. So we went in and visited with her. She goes, I want one full of, bling over the whole thing. And so that's actually the one that we built. And I thought, I was like, yeah, I got your casket, girl. You bet.
So that's hers. I mean, that seems to fit her, and, because she is kind of blingy, so that does seem to fit.
Yeah, it does, and I hope it's not for her, but it's just one that was designed around her.
Yeah, but I mean, it fits her. I mean, in a way. So I think why not? Now, have you ever shadowed a mortician or seen the whole process? Gone into that. I know you don't have to, to design caskets, but have you ever done that or wanted to?
Yes. It's not that I've wanted to, and I tell you what, about 7 years ago, you couldn't have got me into a hospital, girl. I was so afraid of death and, the thought of it. And then it was just like, it was it was an awakening for me. And now it's like, yeah, okay, let's go. I go to the hospitals. I pray with the families. I pray with their children, especially because we meet a lot of families with cancer, just like, Rowan, Jaylene, Julian. I have people that bring their kids to my shop before, and we had one that came in, and it was it was pretty touching to me because he knew that he was sick, and his mom was like, okay, well, what do you think? He's like, Mom, I want one with wheels, and I want it to be Spider-Man. And he's just, he's going because he sees stuff at the shop, but it's like, you don't want to think about that. But it happens. And they're just trying to do something special for their baby. And everybody copes with loss different. But, it's the tragic loss that people don't know about, where it was a drive-by or a car accident or things like that, where we try to help out. But it's the families that are living with this and have been living with this, those families know it's coming. So they want to come, they want to design, they want it perfect. They don't want to be in a rush, which actually, when people call us, it's almost, it doesn't matter if you come before or if you call me the day of and you still get it, you still get the same quality work. It's just something that, if they want to plan, they always make changes. It's like, okay, we want to do this. No, wait, we want to do that. And so, basically what people see now is they love my work. They trust my judgment. They give me the ideas, and I tell them, I got this. Don't worry about it. And I've never had a family tell me, that is not what I wanted. That's not this. They're like, it's perfect. It's beautiful. Because I know I learn everything about them, and I go to my special place, which as God put me in here, and they give me all the information, and I sit back, and it's just like, it comes to me. And one of the coolest caskets that I did was a little girl that passed away here, and she loved to draw. Her family brought me drawings and like books and books of drawings, and I flipped through and I looked at this drawing. I was like, this is it. And they said that was her most favorite one. Can you put that on the casket? And I'm thinking, yeah, we can duplicate that on the computer, and, I'll have it delivered tomorrow afternoon. They left, and I was looking at that paper, and my gift came in, my gift. And I told my assistant, you go get me drawing pencils, go get me everything that you would need for this right now at the Hobby Lobby store. She brought it back. It took me 10 minutes. And that girl drew through me onto her casket. It was, you could not tell the difference from what she drew and what I drew on that casket. And we clear coated over the top of it, and it looked, like it was actually her. So, when I say I have a gift, I have a gift, and it's something that's amazing that can't be described, but it's something that's very beautiful.
Well, we're running out of time, and I do have a question to ask before we talk about Sutherland Springs. I wanted to get to that.
Okay.
But I have a question. Do typical caskets leak? Because I've read about cases where, they'll have to exhume a body years later, and sometimes there's a vacuum seal in there so that the body is like almost pristine, So what's the deal with that?
Okay, so there's different styles of caskets. There's different gauges, and one of the biggest companies said that they have a sealer casket. Okay, the body was exhumed and it had water in it.
Oh,
and it was they okay. All of our caskets are gasketed. Okay, so they're not called sealers because after years and years and years of stuff, and depending on where you're at, if it just has a little bit of seepage and it's been down there for 10, 15 years, it could fill up. But our caskets have extra thick gaskets on ours. Okay, so you're not allowed to call them sealers anymore. You say gasketed to try to keep all the elements out.
Okay, I wonder.
Do ours leak? Yeah. Do ours leak? As far as I know, no. But can they? Yes. Everything is possible. It's just like your sunroof in your new car. Did you buy it? Well, it's got a small leak. Okay. Well, Same thing with a casket, except now when you do a casket, that's why typically they're putting them into a concrete liner or a vault to give you that double protection. And so, you know, a lot of times what you see is the good caskets that you'll see will pop up. Like in Louisiana, you see them floating. Okay, why? Because they are full of air. And so, you know, what we do now is there's a actual memory tube that goes into one side of the casket that has a name and everything in it. So you don't have to actually open the casket to know where it went. There's a little glass tube that you can unscrew with a gasket on it, and it'll have a name, address, you know, whatever that you want to put on that in there. So if for some reason that casket pops up or is floating around, that's why. But there are 20-gauge non-gasketed caskets. Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So you can't say they're 100%.
This is Casket 101. This is Casket 101 here. We're learning everything.
Well, there is not one casket that I have not tore apart. So when people say, well, you know, how do you know about this? How do you know? I have every casket that's probably been made through my shop, whether somebody brought it by to drop it off for me to paint. I tear them apart. I look at them. I have my own casket brand now. It's comes with my signature on it. I went to probably 7 different factories, and, you know, as a fabricator building custom cars, I'm looking at it going, wow, I could spend like $10 more and have like the best casket there ever was because I just added these little tweaks. So the caskets that we have now are a specialty casket. I tell everybody I'm kind of the Louis Vuitton of the casket industry, but not with the price. We're
Why is it you don't have your own TV show? I could totally see this as a TV show where people come in.
Well, I can tell you right now that we are filming a little bit. Anthony Zucker, Anthony Zucker, the producer and co-founder of CSI, I've actually signed a contract with, and we are working with him. We have not sold our show yet, but we are actually doing some filming to try to get it off the ground. And, you know, the one thing that it is a lot of people are scared when you say casket. Well, it's not about the casket, and he gets it. He saw our little thing on Vice.
Yeah.
And so we're actually, like we filmed today. I had a man come in this morning, and I read him.
Oh, that's cool.
And we videoed it, and it was amazing. So yeah, I can't tell you the name of what he's got for our show, but he is super excited about, you know, getting us on the air. They're really working on it. I've had a bunch of production companies call me.
Yeah.
What's that?
It's got all the elements of a great show. It's got, you know, it's touching. You've got probably some humor in there. You've got, you know, artistic, interesting, fascinating. You know, you're always on a time crunch. I just think this has all the elements you would need, you know. But we've got 10 minutes left. I want to talk about
well, ask me what you want. I told you I'd talk your ear off, girl.
Okay, well, that's good. But I love that. You're a great guest, by the way. But I want to talk about Sutherland Springs. When you heard about the tragedy, the shooting, Sutherland Springs, Texas, you went out there and you volunteered your services to the families of the victims. Can you tell us about that experience?
Well, you know, that morning we were here, and we were reached out to a friend of ours that used to live here, that lives there now, and said that we're going to need your services. This is something very bad happened, and these families don't have a lot of money. Can you help? And immediately it was like, what can I do? It wasn't, okay, well, how many? It was, what can I do? And, you know, I step out on faith all the time because I know that's what I'm led to do, and that's what God would want me to do. So what we did was, you know, I had talked to a couple of families, told them that I was going to, you know, be heading that way, anything that we could do for them. Monday morning, I did a Facebook post and just letting them know that, look, we're going to take care of anybody who needs anything from there free of charge. And I just got in the truck and I drove. And by the time that I got there,
wonderful.
I had families that wanted to meet with me. Some of the funeral homes were a little bit of standoffish. I went to the headquarters with the FBI, walked in there, gave the funeral homes that were there my information, said, look, my service is not costing these families a penny. I'm here because I want to do something special. This is what we're about. We are here to help. And this is one of the most, traumatic things that we've ever come across, because so many people right here in our backyard. And it just started from there. I stayed there 3 days. I met with family after family, went to the hospital with families in the hospital, and then came back and we created, we created, a bunch of caskets for these families. And, for me to meet with them, to learn about them, to see them, to hug them, to love on them, to come back, to create these. And then when we went back and delivered all of these, we made 3 different trips. At the last day, when I dropped off the Holcomb and Hill family, there was 9, 10 caskets, 9 or 10, for one family, and I was finished. And I actually was driving back through, and they had the church open. And it was with heavy heart, but I walked in there, and oh my gosh, it was
so hard
to me to see the chairs with the names of the caskets that I put the names on, and to hear the stories about these loved ones. I can't even explain to you the feelings that went through me or going through me right now. And it was people stopping just to thank me and stuff. And that's not what it's about. It's about, remembering those, telling their story, and that was, I tell people that I am blessed to bless. It's not a satisfaction for me. It's not a gratification. It's something that I can't explain. I've been on TV. I've built custom cars at one first place. But when you take something to a family that really, really means something that they're going to remember for the rest of their life, there's nothing in the world that could compare to God working through me to give them that.
Would you say that's the theme of your life, blessed to bless?
Blessed to bless.
If you had to choose.
Letting souls shine. Yes. 100%.
That's awesome. Okay, now I think that's awesome. And is that the only? I mean, have you gone to other tragedies too? Is Sutherland Springs the first one, or have you gone to reached out to others too? We did, because we did so
we've done police officers that were killed in Baton Rouge in Louisiana. That was pretty amazing to build their caskets, take them there. I'm former law enforcement, so that hit home to me, to know that they're out there trying to protect and serve and all of that. And so when we had full police escort, and it was the first time in history that this has ever been done. We were on the Rod Ryan show. We left here. We had police escort from Edna, Texas, all the way to Baton Rouge, Louisiana, and we had empty caskets for fallen officers. It was highway patrols.
Yeah.
They were broadcasting on the radio. There were people on the side of the road waving flags, and it was very surreal to me to, okay, look, I mean, this is something that really matters. There were people that got out and kneeled down and put their hat over their chest when we drove by, because we were taking empty caskets to these officers. There wasn't anybody in it, but it was just the respect, the love that the communities showed all the way from Texas to Louisiana. 6 hours of just intense for me to just, wow. This is something I think people should do for everybody. It's not like I'm doing this for the media or the gratification. It's something that I think that Americans need to do from now on. And just, and I finally figured it out. It's not about you. It's about what you can do for others. And that's the way I live my life.
You have such a fascinating job. I mean, this is amazing. I have another question, and maybe we only have like 5 minutes, but maybe, room for one more. But what do you want your casket to look like? We're going back to that first question that we talked about that set this off.
Okay, so and you know what? That's not for me to decide. It's for my son and my family to decide what they remember me by, because that's typically what happens. Now, I know I want to do a viewing and I want everybody to celebrate and have a party. I want to, and you can make your ashes into a diamond, correct?
Yes, or a ruby or an emerald, I understand.
So I want my ashes to diamonds for my girls. The rest I want to be put into the ocean so they can go to any beach, because the ocean all connects, and watch the sunset and see, and just have a relaxing, a drink with me, whatever it may be, because Dad's out here. Instead of, I don't want somebody to sad and go sit at a cemetery plot or a headstone and just sit there. I would rather them go be somewhere enjoyable and having just a great time, remembering the crazy things that their dad did, or, the things that they remember me by. And that's something I was like, okay, well, what am I going to put? Well, I don't know. I mean, what do people remember me by? Is it the cars that I built? Is it the motorcycles I built? Is it the taxidermy? Is it the loving things from others? But, the one thing that sticks in my mind was when I came to this little church over here in Edna, Ike Peterson was there at the church, and he walked up to me, and he's a deacon in the church, and we were talking. He's like, what really matters is what you're remembered by when you're gone. He says, what are you going to be remembered by? Is it, your tattoos or your fast cars, or, and he wasn't ugly. It was just something, and it really stuck with me. And what sticks with me now is, I want to be remembered as somebody who cared about others. And I'm hoping that's what's, come into play with what we have and why we do what we do. It's not about, decorating a casket. It's about telling somebody's story and helping their families. So that's kind of my story.
Well, we're really not that far apart. Telling someone's story, I'm a writer, and you're an artist telling someone's story through your art, because these caskets are works of art. From what I've seen, anyone who goes to your website to see them will understand that immediately. These are not your ordinary average caskets. Not that that's a bad thing.
Nope.
Some people just want that type of casket, but for those who do, they can go and visit your Facebook page or your website or contact you. And what would an average casket cost? I just wanted to ask that, put that out there. Not that yours are average.
No, but I know what you're saying. Like average cost of ours are going to be between $3,000 and $4,000, and that's custom painted, a couple of colors and things like that. And depending on if they want, but that's your average casket. It's not something that's, it's very compatible to the funeral home industry. And what we have are, what you would go to the funeral home and get is going to be about the same money for the quality. You can get cheaper caskets, but there you go. No gaskets, 20 gauge instead of 18. We do solid bronze. We do solid copper. We do stainless steel. Whatever people think that they need or would want, we have, and we get it done, and it's, it's amazing. And we work with all funeral homes. And another thing is that every funeral home in the United States has to take our casket.
Oh, I did not know.
Oh, wow.
That's great.
They have to by FTC law, which is the Federal Trade Commission. That is law. So our caskets, if a family says, "Hey, I want this casket, I don't want yours," most of them say, "Well, we really don't do that." Well, I don't care if you really don't do that. You have to do that because they try to sell their package deals and things like that. And I'm not knocking the funeral industry, but we are the only people in the world that actually do what we do full time, and it's amazing.
Okay, we are running out of time, and I just wanted to thank you, Trey. I think we could go on. We could do a 2-part show another time. I didn't even ask my question, but thank you for being on the show. You've been such a delight. really enjoyed just chatting with you. And like I said, this is only the tip of the iceberg. So please, anyone who's interested, you know how to get in touch with Trey Ganum Designs. Thank you so much. And have a great evening, you guys. Thank you too, Danelle.
Thanks, guys.
I'm going to say goodbye. Thanks so much.